So, we've spoken a fair bit today about batteries and backup. Now, one of the major benefits that this offers with our architecture is also working with your networks. As the networks get more and more congested and the grid gets more and more congested, and there's more and more policies divided across our nation to then limit how much we can connect to the grid. So, if we're looking at a typical single phase site, for example, you may be limited here in your inverter capacity if you're adding an AC coupled battery, because you're not going to have the expansion opportunities that we have with SolarEdge. You'll have a 5 kilowatt inverter there for the battery. That limits you to a 5 kilowatt inverter for the solar. Can minimize your oversizing abilities, and it means that your home electric car and all of your loads need to compete to fill with the battery that 5 kilowatt output of the inverter. The 5 kilowatt output of the inverter is then going to have to feed everything, the home, the EV, and the battery from that limited pool of AC. You're also limited to single phase of backup in these situations as well. Now, if you compare this to SolarEdge, we have a hugely successful single phase solution here because we can build up your infrastructure on the DC side. From a 10 kilowatt home hub, you have up to 300% DC oversizing, or 22 kilowatts in the case of a 10. We can separate the EV and the battery charging to charge them simultaneously, the EV on the AC, the batteries on the DC, charge them both at the same time from all of your available DC power, and you have that simple system expansion, being able to come back again and again, add more batteries, add more optimizers and panels as the customer's needs change without having to swap out the inverter. We also now offer the multi-phase backup solution that we've been talking about today. And all of this comes together with a single vendor to take care of you. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention the safety and stability of our batteries. You may not realize that the minimum state of charge for our battery, it will sit there in standby mode for 20 days without a charge. And Black Start will always allow the system during a power outage to restart day after day so that power is back up and loads are operating and you're recharging your battery. Let's move to products now. The Smart Switch and the Load Controller. Smart Switch has just been released into the Australian market. What does this do? It's ideal for small loads under 2.5 kilowatts so that your power is running through the switch. You then have a button on the front for easy manual control of turning the device on or off. It's all accessible wirelessly with the eNet protocol, the SolarEdge Home Network in the app. You can then operate this off your solar, off a schedule, whatever you need. And you've got an inbuilt meter there, so you can view the power consumption going through this meter in the portal. This is great for controlling pool pumps, towel rails, small loads, things like this, as the power goes through this for small devices. Earlier in the year, we also released our load controller, which has been really successful. This allows you to maximize self-consumption and backup management by controlling larger devices. So you can partner this as a pair of relays with an external contactor to turn on and off the power supply to things like pool heat pumps, air conditioning. And the other thing that we can do with this, very interestingly, is isolating non-essential loads during backup. So what am I talking about here? This is where we can then mark SolarEdge smart switches and relays as whether they are essential, that should be operating on their normal scheduled programs or solar programs during a blackout, or if they should be turned off during a blackout as non-essential. This is great because apart from our standard manual mode, scheduling mode, or excess solar mode, this backup essentials mode really gives us the extra control we need in a modern home to determine what happens during a blackout. Something definitely worth considering when you are setting up these products and discussing with your customer of whether they want them running during a blackout or not. Let's move on to installability. Now, anybody who came along to All Energy last year might have seen the Fast Mount. It's gone through a couple of name changes, but this is coming to Australia before summer. Now, the beauty of the SolarEdge Fast Mount is that, well, it can cover up a multitude of sins, shall we say. Think of it as SolarEdge cable tray. We can then make sure that we're masking any wall penetrations for DC cable runs coming from the roof, from backup interfaces, from batteries. All of those wall penetrations will be hidden behind a nice, tidy SolarEdge cable tray. It's the same color as our inverters and batteries and backup interfaces. Makes it all look great from an aesthetics perspective. The shape of the fast mount is also great because it's long and skinny. Now, this is particularly handy in the diagram you can see here, so the photo on the right, you can see there's quite a few sets of branch connectors inside the box. Now, this comes in really handy because what you may find as you install SolarEdge batteries onto existing systems is you may have inherited DC cable runs coming down to the ground, and now you've got 2, 3, 4 cables that you need to parallel easily on the ground and bring them into the ports on the inverter. So what we'll also be bringing to market between now and summer are fused branch connectors. This gives tremendous flexibility for combining strings, whether it be 3 strings or 4 strings, with a standard consumable fused branch connector, or if you're combining multiple strings with batteries, you can do all of that with the same products and they can rest inside the fast mount, making it super quick and easy to mount the equipment on the wall, combine your DC in a way which is compliant, and bring that single port into the inverter to get the job done. Now, installability enhancements don't stop there. What about the software? Now, you may have heard a little whisper about a new beta app, which we've been trialing here in Australia. The beta continues, but we'd love to bring you in onto SolarEdge Go today. What is SolarEdge Go? SolarEdge Go is the future of the app that you use in the field to install SolarEdge products. Currently, we have Setup for commissioning the inverter, Mapper for mapping the roof, and the monitoring platform is the older app available there to look at your fleet management. All of this is going to be coming together in SolarEdge Go over the coming months. What can we do right now today with SolarEdge Go? Well, actually, an absolute stack of things. We can replace hardware really quickly and easily by scanning the QR codes of the old and the new device, and it's going to be updated in the monitoring portal without any further work. We can also get amazingly remote access to inverters without going to site. Now, this is a huge time saver where you may want to collaborate with workmates or simply check the settings on an inverter from last year's install, make sure it's got the right grid and country code settings or the CT ratings are correct. You can do that now without a truck roll, without having to go out to site. We'll also bring through, we have alert diagnostics and troubleshooting. We've got handy navigation tips in there as well. You can navigate to sites very quickly and easily. All of this is available right now from the App Store on iOS or Android. But moving forward, you'll also start to see an installation wizard come through within SolarEdge Go to really streamline your installation process and get it running as quickly as possible, from registering the system, commissioning it, generating a quick report, and steering you through that installation process. Now, those of you who know SolarEdge well, you may not need this, but think about your 4th year, 3rd year apprentices or anybody else who might be helping you doing commissioning or moving between sites. All of this is going to mean less questions and ease of install in the second half of the day when you're finalizing those jobs. So if we're recapping on the sort of work we've been doing this year in 2024 to make your installs smoother, we have fast optimizer detection here, the second thing you can see on the screen here. If you haven't noticed, optimizers are now pairing about 3 to 4 times faster than they used to, saving a tremendous amount of time. We have the commissioning wizard coming in between now and summer, and the commissioning report will come through in SolarEdge Go as well. The first thing you can see here is commissioning before upgrade. This is available now on Genesis inverters with optimizers and no accessories. When you're doing a pure solar install, you'll be prompted to say, would you like to commission it, and we'll run the firmware update tonight. And you can say yes. That's going to save you anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes of firmware update time as you push that firmware update through to the evening. Now, you'll see this roll through into more and more configurations over the next 12 to 18 months as the inverter stock in the channel moves up to 4.20. And then from that point on, we have a nice level playing field where you won't need to do anywhere near as many firmware updates before commissioning. All of this is in strong recognition of the fact that your time is valuable. We want you to get home to your families as quickly as possible at the end of the day.